verse 33. Okay. You want to chant the prayers?
Yes. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayeshu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki.
Okay. Would you like to read or do you want me to read?
You can read, Prabhu.
Okay. All right. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 21, verse 33, the creation of the fourth order. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tam eva yoyam bhajatatma vritivir mano vacha kaya gunai svakarma bi amayina kama dugan kri pankajam yata dikar rava sitarta siddhaya. Translation. Prithu Maharaj advised his citizens, engaging your minds, your words, your bodies, and the results of your occupational duties, and being always open-minded, you should all render devotional service to the Lord. According to your abilities and the occupations in which you are situated, you should engage your service at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with confidence and without reservation. Then you will surely be successful in achieving the final objective in your lives. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As stated in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Svakarmana tam abhacharya, one has to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by one's occupational duties. This necessitates accepting the principles of 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. Prithu Maharaj therefore says, Gunai Svakarma Karma Bhi. This phrase is explained in Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnyam Maya Sristam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. The 4 castes, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, are created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to the material modes of nature and the particular duties discharged in those modes. A person who is situated in the mode of goodness is certainly more intelligent than others. Therefore, he can practice the Brahminical activities, namely speaking the truth, controlling the senses, controlling the mind, remaining always clean, practicing tolerance, having full knowledge about one's own self-identity, and understanding devotional service. In this way, if he engages himself in the loving service of the Lord as an actual Brahmana, his aim to achieve the final interest of life is attained. Similarly, the Kshatriya's duties are to give protection to the citizens, to give all his possessions in charity, to be strictly Vedic in the management of state affairs, and to be unafraid to fight whenever there is an attack by enemies. In this way, a Kshatriya can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his occupational duties. Similarly, a Vaishya can satisfy the Supreme Godhead by properly executing his occupational duties, engaging himself in producing foodstuffs, giving protection to cows, and trading, if necessary, when there is an excess of agricultural production. Similarly, because Sudras do not have the ample intelligence, they should simply engage as workers to serve the higher castes of social life. Everyone's aim should be to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by engaging his mind and thinking always of Krishna, his words, in always offering prayers to the Lord, or preaching about the glories of the Lord, and his body in executing the service required to satisfy the Lord. As there are four divisions within our body, the head, the arms, the belly, and the legs, similarly, human society, taken as a whole, is divided into four classes of men according to their material qualities and occupational duties. Thus, the Brahmanical or intelligent men have to execute the duty of the head. The Kshatriyas must fulfill the duty of the arms. The Vaishya class must fulfill the duty of the belly, and the Sudras must fulfill the duty of the legs. In executing the prescribed duties of life, no one is higher or lower. There are such divisions as higher and lower, but since there is actually a common interest to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no distinctions between them. The question may be raised that since the Lord is supposed to be worshipped by great demigods like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and others, how can an ordinary human being on this planet serve him? This is clearly explained by Prithu Maharaj by the use of the word yata dikara, according to one's ability. If one sincerely executes his occupational duty, that will be sufficient. One does not need to become like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Indra, Lord Chaitanya, or Ramanujacharya. Those capabilities are certainly far above ours. Even a Sudra who is in the lowest stage of life, according to their material qualities, can achieve the same success. Anyone can become successful in devotional service, provided that he displays no duplicity. It is explained here that one must be frank and open-minded. Amayana. To be situated in a lower status of life is not a disqualification for success in devotional service. The only disqualification is that whether one is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra, he must be open, frank, and free from reservations. Then, by performing his particular occupational duty under the guidance of a proper spiritual master, he can achieve the highest success in life, as confirmed by the Lord himself. Striyo Vaishyas Tata Sudras Te Piyante Param Gatim, Bhagavad Gita 9:32. It does not matter what one is, whether a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, or a degraded woman. If one engages himself seriously in devotional service, working with body, mind, and intelligence, he is sure to be successful in going back home, back to Godhead. The Lord's lotus feet are described here as Kama Dugangari Pankajam, because they have all power to fulfill the desires of everyone. A devotee is happy even in this life, because although in the material existence we have many needs, all his material needs are satisfied, and when he at last quits his body, he goes back home, back to Godhead, without a doubt. So, very nice explanation here about how Prahlad Maharaj is advising his citizens that we need to engage our mind and words, bodies, and results of our duties, being always open-minded. You should all render devotional service to the Lord. So it's according to our abilities and the occupation in which we are situated. And that's how we do it. That's why we have the Varnashram system, and that's why Srila Prabhupada said that only 50% of his work was complete. Because to engage in devotional service, we need to engage according to our ability or our Varna. And how the gunas are affecting us. So someone more in the mode of passion, he's generally speaking more suitable to Kshatriya activities, managing or protecting, etc. So it's very important, this point, that, and you could see how Prabhupada did that. Actually, he would engage his disciples. He would make distinctions because he knew that we're not exactly pure devotees, so we have to be engaged according to our nature. So he would engage different disciples in different ways. You could see how he was doing that. He was making some of them managers, some of them were typists, some were good at producing, like printing, etc. Some are better organizers than others. So this is the way, and also our ashram. What's suited to us according to our desires. If we want to live with a woman in a marriage, or if we want to be celibate, brahmachari, that's according to our nature also. If we can manage to do that, or a sannyasi, if you're more dedicated to that, and then vanaprastha. So it's all according to our nature, how we engage in devotional service. It's the most effective way to do that. Of course, a devotee who's more advanced, a very advanced devotee can engage in any service. It doesn't make any difference to him. He's very expert at doing everything. So he can wash the pots very nicely for the Lord, and he can, direct the Kshatriyas. As a Brahmana, he's, very shastrically knowledgeable. So a devotee, a very advanced devotee, can do any of these. So, and that's the platform that we want to come to, where we can actually engage in any service, and it doesn't matter which ashram we're in. We can still remember the Lord, and we can still serve the Lord with devotion. So Prabhupada here is breaking it down into the 4 castes, or the 4 varnas. And so he talks about the mode of goodness. Someone who is in the mode of goodness is more intelligent than the others. Therefore, he's more suitable to Brahminical activities. Speaking the truth, controlling his senses, etc. Controlling the mind. Always clean, tolerant, has knowledge of the Shastras and of his own identity, and understands devotional service. So that's someone who's more suitable to acting as a Brahmana. Even though we get Brahman initiation and we serve the deities, we may not necessarily be of that nature as a Brahmana, although we can become like that, regulated, clean, all the rest of it. So, and the Kshatriyas also, he talks about giving protection to the citizens, giving everything in charity. So it's not just being a manager, it's actually also giving your possessions in charity. If someone's a Kshatriya, they have a very good business, for instance, they can give donations to temples, monetary or otherwise, to help with the preaching or to help build a temple, say. So, a Kshatriya is quite, as it says in the first part of the verse, open-minded. So he's able to, be detached from his the things that he owns and the wealth that he has, and strictly Vedic in the management of state affairs, and be unafraid to fight, regardless of who's attacking. So we can satisfy Krishna like that, just somehow or other, by engaging in helping with Srila Prabhupada's movement in some way or other. Generally speaking, it would be managing things, and a Kshatriya. Although he can also protect the devotees. And then Prabhupada talks about the Vaishya who's producing foodstuffs, giving protection to the cows, trading if necessary, if there's an excess. So some devotees are more suited to that, selling. They're very good at business. They know how to do business management properly and organize things like that. Also giving protection to the cows, a Vaishya activity, and producing foodstuffs. So that's why Prabhupada started our farms, for cow protection, producing food stuffs. And he said that we should be providing all the Hare Krishna vegetarian restaurants with the foodstuffs from their farms. And then we have the Sudras, who are just as important, just because they don't have the ample intelligence, they engage in serving somehow. But that can be, serving the devotees is a very high position. Actually, it's a very high position, a very privileged position to be able to serve the devotees, in any way. So, we have these the four varnas, but then ultimately in the end, we're trying to satisfy the Lord. So it doesn't actually really matter in the end which varna we are. The main thing is that we please the Lord. It reminds me of Jayananda Prabhu, who was very shastrically learned and a very good preacher. He built a lot of the Rath carts, and he was washing the pots. I think he was washing the pots or taking out the rubbish. Maybe he was doing all these activities that you wouldn't expect someone of his caliber to be doing, but he was humble, and he was taking out the rubbish, I think it was, and he met someone and he started talking to them, and then the person who he was preaching to realized that if this is the guy who's taking out the rubbish and he knows this much about spiritual life, I can't imagine what the rest of them will be like, So you can see these examples, some of these examples. So, we need all four classes. We need the legs. Without the legs, the body can't go anywhere. Without the belly, we can't exist, because, we need to be fed. And without the head without the arms, we can't do anything, practically speaking. And without the head, we don't have a brain. So all those different components are necessary to function in the Varnashram system and in society in general also. But as Prabhupada says here, there are divisions of higher and lower, but that doesn't really matter in the end, because we're all trying to satisfy the Lord. So there's no distinctions in the sense, spiritually speaking, there's no distinctions. Materially speaking, yes, there will be distinctions, but on the ultimate platform, the spiritual platform, there's no distinction there. So then Prabhupada poses a question here, that how can we serve the Lord? As a human being, we're not qualified really to do that. We're not a demigod or anything. So we don't really, have that ability. But he said here that if one sincerely executes his occupational duty, that will be sufficient. So that's quite amazing. If we just do that one thing, execute our occupational duty, that's all we need. We don't have to become Brahma or Shiva or Indra. We just have to execute our occupational duty, and that's pleasing to the Lord. So it's and Prabhupada goes on to say here that even a Shudra who's in the lowest stage of life, according to the material qualities, can achieve the same success as a Brahmana or any of the other Varnas. So it's this pleasing of the Lord that we have to keep our mind on and keep Krishna in the center and not get caught up in the Varnas or the ashrams, actually, because, ultimately we should be able to be happy and be spiritually advanced in any of those. So Prabhupada also says here, if we perform our occupational duty under the guidance of a proper spiritual master, we can achieve the highest success in life. And we must be open, frank, and free from reservations. So these things in the end are not important. We can't have reservations about what we are or who we are. I'm just a Sudra, I'm not a Brahmana or a Kshatriya. That doesn't matter. If you're getting transcendental bliss, if you're feeling the energy of the Lord, the spiritual energy of the Lord in your life, it doesn't matter. You'll be satisfied whatever you're doing, even if you're in the hellish planets. So we have to always remember that we can't look down on others or lament that we're not in a higher varna. We just have to be satisfied with our abilities, our natural abilities that we get when we're born. So in the end here, Prabhupada says, if one engages himself seriously in devotional service, working with the body, mind, and intelligence, he's sure to be successful in going back home, back to Godhead. So that's all it is, we just engage ourselves. If we just engage ourselves seriously in chanting, in hearing, in whatever service we do, if we do that seriously, then Prabhupada said here, we're sure to go back to Godhead. He's giving us that assurance. And if we just continue like that and not forget the Lord, we have to keep remembering the Lord. And through the spiritual master and through the parampara, we can somehow serve the Lord's lotus feet and remember him, his form, his pastimes, his holy names, etc. That's the situation we want to come to. And but to get there, we have to perform service, our duties, our occupational duties, and but understanding that the ultimate goal is to actually become Krishna conscious, not just to engage as a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Brahmana or a sannyasi or a brahmachari or grihastha. All those things are relevant because they're on the bodily platform. So it's like we use the Varnashram system to come to a higher platform. Yeah, so I think that's about all I can think about for that verse. If anyone's got any comments or questions or realizations about it.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Actually, I liked the a description of the Lord's lotus feet as Kama Tughangri Pankajam. So, and Prabhupada writes, because they have all power to fulfill the desires of everyone. So, yeah, I have heard this before from other devotees that just by thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord or by thinking of the Lord, every situation becomes complete. And just by meditating on the Lord, like one can overcome all obstacles. So I was inspired by that line. That's all, Prabhu.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate to be able to read and hear the Srimad Bhagavatam because it inspires us, in spiritual life. So it's a very fortunate situation that we're in. Okay, shall we continue? Let's have a look at the next verse. That's quite an extensive report there. Do you think we should finish up?
Yes, Prabhu, we can finish up. My phone and my computers are showing like different times. I don't know for what reason, but my computer keeps losing time. So I cannot keep track of time through by looking at my computer, but it's already 5:28. So we can wrap up for today.
Okay.
Antaranga Seva Mataji, Hare Krishna. Would you like to say anything before we end?
No, Mataji, I was just thinking that, like you said, the Lord's lotus feet, they can fulfill all our desires. So I was thinking, but still we don't feel like going or approaching his lotus feet. It's because of our false ego. We think we can fulfill our own desires. We are so capable. And then it's just frustration. Those desires are also not good. That's what I was thinking at that time. Instead of taking the easy route, we take such a difficult route, and it's so difficult.
True, very true. Okay, thank you very much, Rasirasika Prabhu and Antaranga Seva Mataji. So we'll meet again tomorrow for the Japa Zone.
Okay.
At 5.